I'm making plays. I'm making hits. I'm making plays. I never miss. Haters gon' hate. Yeah, they gon' hate. But look at the clips. Just look at the clips. At the end of the day, I was made for this shit, dog. I was made for this shit. Nothing but green grass in my view. Hit him for 50 yards up the middle. All of my rushes are ready to move. Tell your quarterback, head on the swivel. Came all this way, so we hungry as hell. If we ain't winning, we ain't leaving the field. Overtime, now the shit getting real. Double overtime, shoot for the kill. I put it all on my shoulders. Give 100 till it's over. All of this ice in my veins. Tell me, how could there be anyone colder?
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome to the Arrowhead PM podcast and live stream. We are live via X or Twitter or whatever you call it, and YouTube right now. We got our man DG, we got Corey, and the debut of Richard to the group. Let's give a shout out to Richard. Richard, welcome to the Arrowhead team. How you doing, man?
Good. How y'all doing tonight?
Doing good.
A little congested, but good. Good.
Okay, I spent 3 hours getting rained on today because it decided it wanted to downpour in Texas for the first time all year. So,
well, it's great to have you on, Richard. We're really excited to have you on the team, and there's a lot to go into. But as I said, you're watching us via X, via YouTube, wherever you get us through Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That's how you're listening to this right now. But we got a lot to go through. We're going to go through some free agent signings that happened since our last live stream. We're going to go over some defensive tackles, some running backs, and some extra sprinkling of players that we're kind of into coming into this draft. And Corey and Richard are going to present their mock drafts. But let's start off with probably the biggest news of the weekend for Chiefs fans. Obviously, we have re-signed for 1 year up to $7 million. Charles Omenihu. Thank God we had him back. Ever since we got him, it's kind of been either a suspension or an injury that's kind of held him back. But now he'll have a full off season. He's talked to the media a lot this off season about how he really wants to get back with the Chiefs and how he wants to make up for what happened in the Super Bowl. But man, DG, Charles Omenihu is back in KC. What do you think about it, man?
Yeah, I think I said it the other day when, it's a win-win situation for both sides. I think for him, it's a familiar scheme, familiar place, a place where he's thrived in. Obviously, I think Spags is in the amount of time that he's been here. Spags has gotten the best out of him in his career. So I think that's a win situation for him, and I think it's a win situation for the Chiefs as far as the contract. Didn't have to really go and spend big dollars. I know that's kind of probably something that Charles Omenihu maybe was looking for, but at the end of the day, your best availability is your availability, and sometimes that can hinder, how much you get on the open market or anything like that. So I think the offers as they came in, probably just being in a familiar place was the most intriguing thing for Charles Omenihu, and I'm glad he's back. Now he gets the opportunity to go out there on a 1 year deal and really prove himself and have a shot to get back on the open market next year and probably get that bigger bag that he's looking for. So excited for him, excited for the Chiefs because they get a really great player in their scheme, in their system for a full year this time, hopefully, barring no injuries, no suspensions or anything like that. And you get a really motivated Charles Omenihu. I expect really big things from him. This is a proven year for sure. Hopefully it's a long career with the Chiefs, but usually, with what Therese Paylor used to say, the contract year is undefeated, and hopefully it proves itself again this year too as well. So glad to have him back. Rich, what were your thoughts on Charles Omenihu?
Well, definitely a good thing he's back, considering as of the time of him signing, we had exactly one DT on the roster. In case you didn't know, his name is Chris Jones. So, well, that's great. We definitely needed more bodies back in the room, which they have also done by bringing Pennel and a couple of others back, which is also good. But definitely needed his juice. He definitely brings a lot to the table with his versatility. I think him combined with Jerry Tillery is going to make a very versatile set of chess pieces that Spags and Joe Cullen can move around the defensive line and really present a lot of different looks. So I am extremely curious to see how that's all going to play out once we get into training camp in the preseason, because I want to see how they want to deploy all of these pieces, especially if we bring in a couple of young guys as well through the draft.
All right, Corey, can you kind of speak to us about the impact and why you think Charles Omenihu fits so well in Steve Spagnuolo's system?
Just his ability to play multiple positions, to be able to slide inside and Chris Jones slide outside. He likes bigger body defensive ends that can play on the interior and get some pressure from the inside. For me, so I was kind of ahead of this before anybody else was. When I started doing my mock drafts, I had us taking best available, and everybody's like, we need D tackles. We need D tackles.
Yeah.
I knew Veach wasn't going to go into a draft pigeonholing us into a place where we only could get one position. We had to fill it.
Uh-huh.
That's just not his style. He's always filled through the beginning part of free agency the best he could. Generally went best available for the first couple rounds. And then at the end, he'd take a shot at some secondary pieces if need be, a linebacker here and there. I had a feeling we would get somebody. I didn't know if it was going to be Charles Omenihu. If we saw his cryptic tweets, I wasn't sure which direction that was trending.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm glad to see him back. He knows the defense. Him and bringing Pennel back, too. Pennel is one of the key pieces on why we've been one of the best D-stopping D-lines in the league. And having that same lineup going into next season, being able to add another piece or two along the D line, I think it'll be very beneficial, especially getting Chris Jones some rotation in and out. If we can get somebody else as an impact player on the inside. But the biggest point to me is this opened it back up to where we could go best available. There is very solid depth at wide receiver, cornerback, defensive tackle in this draft, and setting yourself up to where you can go best available just sets it up. With pieces drop, eventually you're going to get somebody that's probably 15, 20 rated prospect. Run on receivers, run on O tackles, weak positions. There you go. You've got a cornerstone to your defense or offense you're adding in the first round.
100%. I was going to mention Pennel, but, good on you, Corey, for mentioning that for us. Pennel being back really helps with the run stopping part of the defensive line, and it's just really great to have him back. But to have Charles back and just kind of the untapped potential that he's kind of had since being here. I mean, we saw it when he kind of debuted in 2023 season, and he was killing it up until when he got injured. And then, coming back this season from the injury, I mean, I felt like he fit perfectly and really had some impact games. To this day, I think like the biggest game that I've seen him play was against the Texans this year in the playoffs. I felt like he was one of the best players on the field. Having him back is great, and we're getting things figured out. And like Corey said, like I feel like the way that the Chiefs have addressed this offseason is basically, we just need some extra depth pieces and new young talent to really revitalize this offense, and as well as like shore up the defense again. And I think just what they've done is make it really easy to draft because they're just pretty loaded. But now we're going to go through our favorite DTs, defensive tackles. Each of us have picked a defensive tackle that we'd like to, from college going into the draft, that we'd like to talk about and go in depth. So the first one, I believe, is my man Rich. And as I pull it up, we are going to go talk about Alfred
It's
Collins.
one of DG's guys right here.
Yeah, Alfred Collins, man.
Yeah, and I think we let this clip speak for itself, and let some of these clips speak for themselves. But
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen a nose tackle / 3 tech come from like a day 3 prospect as soon as the season ended to now people are talking about him at like day 2 early. Like, and this is it right here. Like that. Can we, before we get into it, can we just go back to that real quick? Because I need to break this clip down. This is insane. Not just awareness from a guy who's like 320 plus pounds, but the ability to stop on a dime, move that laterally, and go and make a play on the football is just insane from a guy his size. Like just how he moves and how he was deployed at Texas, especially this last year, not only shows insane versatility for a guy his size, but just the ability to play multiple positions, which is something that Spags clearly likes in his defensive linemen. We re-signed Mike Pennel, so I know a lot of the people would say, well, do we want another nose tackle who would primarily play nose tackle in the draft? He wouldn't be an every down guy. I get it. It's probably not something that's like a huge need. But from a guy who day one is going to come in and help stop the run with the type of versatility and pass rush upside that he has, he also has freakishly long arms. Like this dude this dude measured at the combine freakishly long arms for his size at 6'6". So like he has the length, he has the strength to hold up in the run game, and flashed some pass rush upside on a team that had a lot of premier picks that are going to be going in this draft. Not even talking about offense or underclassmen. So the fact that he stands out this much on a team that had a lot of defensive talent tells me that he has the big potential to be an impact starter in this league. And I think the Chiefs would love to have somebody like this in their DT room.
Yeah, he's a monster of a dude. And like Alfred Collins is a big guy, very big guy. And it's very hard to move, especially in the run game. Very stout. I think that's probably his best strength that he would bring to a team. He's pretty much going to take up 2 gaps at one time, and then has showed the athleticism more this year, being able to do some other different things for Texas. Was definitely an anchor for that Texas defense this year, which I feel like was one of the best defenses in the nation this year. Definitely stood out and raised his stock from probably, like Rich said, a day 3 guy to potentially being probably a day 2 guy at this point. But yeah, definitely flashed a lot more of his pass rush skills this year than previous years before. But massive improvement from his junior year to his senior year this year, and he was definitely a reason why that Texas defense, him and Bill Norton, you weren't running in the middle on those guys this year.
I just want to point out some of these guys that he's throwing around are future 26 draft picks, by the way. Like these are people who are going to be going fairly high in the draft next year. And he is just throwing them off like they're not even there.
Yeah, he gave I think his best game is what you saw was the Arkansas game. He gave them absolute hell. That game, he was definitely a monster, but yeah, been massive improvement of what he was able to do this year. Maybe has a little bit of lack of pass rush skills as far as his pass rush plan. Is more of bull rush type of guy, using his strength to that point, not necessarily finesse or anything like that. But you know what you're getting out of Alfred Collins. I think that's kind of why he's more of a day 2 guy in a sense, just because he's more of, big guy in the middle, clog the lane, kind of give you what Mike Pennel would kind of give you in the run game, but with a little bit more pass rush upside.
What do you think, Corey?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, he gives you a lot in the run game. We brought Pennel back. I like it. I like him in first and second down packages. Like I said, I think if somebody's going to be rotated out on some of the NASCAR packages, I think if we go D-line, I love him as a prospect, especially if you're looking at a Pennel replacement later on down the road. Then, yeah, that's a guy you want to go get to anchor that inside. I think this year, though, we may go somebody with a little bit more of that NASCAR package, a little bit smaller, which even kind of goes against my pick. But, I mean, we've been lacking that true dominant D tackle since nose tackle since Dontari Poe. And I think somebody like that would be like a perfect replacement for that. Somebody that's going to just anchor that interior and not allow any push on that inside of the line.
Heck yeah. All right. He seems like he'll be a great addition to the team. Now we go with Corey's pick. We got from
bigger.
the
I think this guy's 340, 360 pounds.
The University of Kentucky, Deion Walker. What do you like about Deion Walker, Corey?
I mean, look at that play right there. Look at his movement for his size. 350 pounds. How many 350-pound men do you know that can do a Euro step inside into a spin move?
I don't.
But, like I said,
don't know too many. Actually, I may know one, but he plays for the Bucks, unfortunately. So,
but I mean, even at his size, he gets pressure. He's somebody that you can put in. And the fun fact, when I was looking up, I think he faced the second most double teams for an interior defensive lineman in the SEC this year. And I think he still had over his career, 10 sacks. So he gets penetration. For somebody his size, you're thinking, okay, nose tackle. He's just going to set the middle, not allow any push. But for his size, he's got the athleticism, almost like Dontari Poe, where there you think Colin Saunders, a smaller or bigger version of Colin Saunders, somebody that's just freakishly athletic for his size. It should not. I mean, look at that.
I will say I love his footwork. Oh. He has great footwork for his size. My only issue that I see with him as a prospect is he would probably have been a lot more dominant in college if he was just properly taught proper pad level. That's my one thing. And I harp on this with offensive linemen as well. If you get underneath his pad level, I do not care how big you are, you will get moved around in the run game.
See, here's
I would just want to see a development in that aspect, which was a lot more inconsistent than I would have liked from a guy at his size who shows that level of footwork and ability to get pressure.
It reminds me a lot of Chris Jones. If you look at his draft profile coming out, he didn't have the best hand fighting. He didn't play with very good pad level. They had questions about his stamina and being able to play on long drives, a lot like him. But one thing that consistently pops up on tape is how much he wins. And if you can get somebody, I mean, he may benefit by losing 10, 15 pounds, playing at 330 pounds, and get some of that stamina back and working with somebody that who's a D-line coach, Colin?
Yeah, Colin. Yeah, right.
Working on pad level and staying lower. But, I mean, he's got one thing that you can't teach, and that is pure athleticism for somebody that is 6'6", 360 pounds that should not be able to move like that, but he does. That's something you can't teach. All the other stuff, pad level, hand fighting, you can teach that. If you can coordinate those with his ability to win and his footwork at that size, I mean, he could be a Chris Jones 2.0.
He's a dude. Yeah, Deion Walker's a guy classifies. He's a dude. There's guys and there's dudes, and he's a dude.
Big men should not move like that.
Yeah.
No, they definitely shouldn't.
And he wears number 0. So if you're number 0, you gotta be great. And he's pretty great. Yeah.
And we haven't seen his ability yet. We've not seen him against. Look at every snap that you just showed. They're all double teams. Going against Chris Jones, teams aren't going to be able to double team him.
Heck yeah,
I think the
man.
best part of all this is all three of the guys I think we picked to showcase tonight are all played in the SEC, which clearly to me is the best conference in the nation. So any of those guys that you're getting in the middle, all those schools, they recruit dudes. They don't just get plain Jane guys. They get guys that can really do some things. So.
Speaking of, we are going with TJ Sanders for DGs. What do you think about TJ?
TJ Sanders, man, it's just flashy right there. You want more of a pass rush, that guy that you can put next to Chris Jones and even possibly take Chris Jones off the field for some snaps. TJ Sanders is your guy. Definitely explosive off the line, first step off the line. I actually want to talk about some of his positives that I've got from NFL Draft Buzz. Violent hands, packs a serious pop at the point of attack. Man, he's got natural leverage and flexibility. So he plays with a really high motor. He's very versatile in any kind of scheme. Can play from 0 to 5 tech. You can move this guy all across the line if you really want to. Very competitive. Led that South Carolina defense, I think, this year with 9. I think he had 9 sacks a year. I could be wrong about that, but yeah, it was very stout in the middle of that defense. Probably maybe lacks a little bit of what you want to see in the run game, but you want a pass rusher, he's your guy. Only weakness I think that he really kind of shows is what every young defensive tackle I think in this league is going to show, which is playing with a high pad level at points in times. But we've seen a great guy in Chris Jones and number 95 play most of his career with a high pad level and still have a ton of success. So TJ Sanders is one of those guys I think you could bring in and be good, be very confident about the future of what you have with him and Chris Jones and even life after Chris Jones, in my opinion. Definitely, like I said, another guy that I feel like he's a dude. Definitely a dude.
I will say, if you guys paid attention to a lot of my early mock drafts, anytime I doubled down on defensive tackle, whether I went Nolan in the first or Walker, Sanders was always my end of third round pick for defensive tackle. I went with one bigger, one smaller, and Sanders was always my guy for that second D tackle pick in the mid rounds.
Yeah, I think he would. Honestly, if those guys weren't in front of him, he'd probably go higher. But unfortunately, this is a great defensive tackle class, and there's a lot of guys just as talented as he is. So I feel like this guy would be a great day 2. If he falls to day 3, I'd be running to the podium to snatch him up, especially in day 3. You can get great value.
I mean, if you look at what was it 2 years ago, the draft was in Kansas City, and there was D tackles like Smith that went to the Cowboys. What was his name?
Mozzie Smith.
Yeah. Mozzie Smith.
A lot of these second and third round D tackles in that draft class would have went into first round, beginning of second round. The ones you're seeing falling into the third and fourth. This class is just so deep at defensive tackle, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. This class.
He would be a top 20. I think he would be, if this were any other year, I think he would be a top 20 pick, and nobody would blink an eye. Like I think he's that good. He is such a great hand fighter and knows hand placement, and I think that's part of the reason why he wins so consistently, even though he's not the biggest guy on the field when it comes to D tackles.
Yes.
So I think that is a very underappreciated aspect of this group of DTs, is that they have a very good grasp at hand fighting and hand placement. And that is something that is not as easy to teach as some people might think. And if you already have that, you have a chance to be a day one contributor. Sanders was usually my late day 2 pick from like the time I started doing late round 2, early round 3 was like where I consistently had him mocked when I started doing drafts, because he just was that consistent and got better once Kyle Kennard got there. So
like I said, any of these D tackles, you plug them in and play. I mean, like I said, good luck double teaming Chris Jones when you've got somebody like Deion Walker, who's a literal 400-pound Angus cow in the middle, that you're not going to move around with footwork like a ballerina, or a 320-pound defensive tackle that's stripping the ball from a running back every time he runs through a gap. I mean, this D tackle class it's a perfect time to need D-line help.
Yeah. Yeah, just full circle moment. TJ Sanders is 6'4", 297, and Rich just considered him undersized.
I mean, that's the crazy part about look at what the Eagles put out at D tackle at like 340 pounds. We bring back a guy like Mike Pennel, who primarily a run stopper guy, who had 3 sacks last year, by the way.
Yeah.
So like teams are starting to realize you need guys who not only have the footwork, but they need the size to match up with some of these offensive
the Eagles hit it on 2 different fronts. They said, okay, the interior D-line, we're going to get them so damn big that you're not going to be able to push them backwards. And on the edge, we're going to have them so fast that you can't touch them.
Yeah.
I don't care if they're 190 pounds. You're not going to touch them. They're going to be so fast on that speed rush.
Yeah, and this is just where the league kind of is trending now. I mean, you're getting guys in the league that are more versatile, more athletic, especially in these interior positions. They kind of have to be at this point because the quarterbacks are getting more athletic, more versatile.
I said it 20 years ago. Teams were taking their players that they didn't know what to do with. They were just so athletic, they had to get them on the field somewhere. So they were putting them at wide receiver, tight end, running back. Now they're putting them at defensive end. You're getting the most athletic people that are positionless, and they're saying, hey, go line up on that edge and just use your speed and just get the hell around him and hit the quarterback. And that's what you're doing. You're getting people that are running 4.40s playing defensive end now.
Yeah, all 3 of those picks are great. I did pick one, unfortunately not in the SEC, so don't know how this will be taken. But I went with the MAC conference of all conferences. I went with Darius Alexander. All MAC Nation.
You like watching a little ball on Tuesday, Wednesday night.
Well, if you like Maction, then this Toledo team was you wanted to watch. So you picked a good one to watch at least.
Yeah,
that bowl game
based
was a
off
doozy.
what I've so
right
he's 6'4", he's 305. So kind of just a little heavier than Sanders, but I think he's more of a good run defensive threat and decent when it comes to getting to pressures. But I mean, if you look at the tape, I mean, I think he's probably a 3rd rounder. I could be wrong, but based off the tape I saw from here, he's got decent explosion, and when it comes to guys on him, he's not afraid to fight through. That's what I like about Darius. But what do you guys think about Darius Alexander?
He's got that hand swipe down though. That's the 3rd time I've seen somebody just throw somebody by.
Yeah,
I like his first
hands,
step.
For sure.
I like his first step. I like his hand fighting. He understands. He has a good understanding of cadence and snap count and when to explode off the ball. He could be better in his tackling. He does. I have seen him miss in some instances.
I just saw 2 in that little clip alone.
Fly by a guy.
Look at that guy.
After putting an offensive lineman on skates, but I think that's something that will come with time. But I like what I've seen from him. He went absolutely wild in their bowl game, which I think is what really put him on the map, and then backed it up with Senior Bowl and Combine. So I think he has a chance to be solidly in that day 2 discussion. It's just a matter of where and what teams feel they can use him most effectively. I think his run defense is probably weaker than his pass defense right now, but I think that's something that will come with more time and more experience at a higher level of play overall.
For sure. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Greg.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to defer to you.
I was going to say, level of competition worries me a little bit. If you watch some of these reps against some of these guards, he's just throwing them down. When you get to the NFL, you're not going to be able to throw down a Joe Tooney or some of these, even like Caliendo, some of the backups. Like the MAC level competition, he's going to get in, and he's not going to be able to win that initial one-on-one by just throwing somebody down or throwing them across his body like that. So he's going to have to learn to have second moves. Like one thing we talked about with Karlaftis. In college, that first move got him by. In his first year, he wasn't very productive until he learned that second move to get by. When you're playing at a smaller school like that, it always worries me when you come up to the NFL, how will that translate? And from the looks of it, either he's really damn dominant in that division or those guards just are really not very good. And I think it could be a combination of both.
You're probably more than
Yeah.
likely it is. But, you know,
I mean,
Toledo's put out some good
he's
prospects.
just thrown somebody down.
Right.
You gotta give the little guys a shot, you know. But now we're gonna go into running backs, and I know for Chiefs Kingdom this is a huge topic of discussion. Obviously, on our roster currently we have as our starter Isaiah Pacheco. We also have Kareem Hunt that we resigned and Elijah Mitchell from the 49ers, but a lot of us are really hoping based off this running back class alone that we can get another explosive back that can pair well with Pacheco, with Hunt, maybe with Elijah Mitchell. We'll see where we go from there. But the first running back I'm going to go with is DG's from UCF, RJ Harvey. And
RJ
here
Harvey,
is
man.
that. What do you think about him, DG?
Just put it on the tape. That's it. Put on the tape and watch him, man. Elite lateral quickness, man. He's got blazing speed. I will say that at UCF, the great part about his game is that offensive line was trash. And
It was not good.
He was still able to make miracles happen for them, just with his, like I said, with his quickness, his speed, his lateral agility. And once he gets in open field, you're not catching him. He plays with a low pad level as well too. He will come down and punish defenders if he has to. But once he gets, like I said, once he gets in open field, good luck. Have a great time because you're not catching him. And I just think that he would fit this offense extremely well. Maybe to some people, maybe a little bit undersized, being 5'8", but we've seen running backs at that size still have success in the league. When you can run like this and run away from defenders and be as elusive as he is, I think you can still have great success in this league. RJ Harvey is a guy that I feel like a lot of people, he's probably going to be a sleeper in this draft, a day 3 type of guy, just because of how good this class really is. But I think that, to me, in my opinion, I think that he could have the impact that the Kareem Hunt had when he came in here his rookie year for the Chiefs, and getting with Andy Reid and those guys. So a lot of excitement for him. I hope that the Chiefs would take. Just look at that. That's something that the Chiefs obviously need. They need that explosion, especially from that position. That's something that they haven't had in these last couple of years. Love Isaiah Pacheco, love Kareem Hunt now or whatever, but they can't do this. So RJ Harvey is a guy that I feel like on day 3 that Brett Veach, if he's there, Brett Veach would be salivating.
I'm liking what I'm seeing, man.
I definitely can't hate. I love his pass catching. He definitely is a plus out of the backfield with his ability to make people miss in space. And obviously his speed was on full display both this year and last year. His scheme wise, I like the fit. It just feels like maybe we go a different. I just maybe think we go a different direction.
Yeah.
Overall, but you can't teach
Jesus
you can't teach that elusiveness and that speed.
I do think that
that's
like,
home run ability.
if there's a guy, if there's the
Jesus
Travion
Christ.
Henderson, the Quarshawn Judkins, those guys, if they're available to you on day 2 or whatever, I do believe you go that route or whatever. But if you're sitting there on day 3 and you haven't picked a running back yet, I think RJ Harvey is the best day 3 running back you could probably get, in my opinion. Maybe lacks a little bit of awareness in pass pro, which would be something that he'd obviously have to be coached on, and probably relies maybe a little bit too much on his lateral ability at points and times. Which at the next level, guys obviously get stronger, faster, and more aware of what you can do. But I just think he's a sensational prospect for a guy that's probably going to go 5th or 6th round.
He just looks like he's got like freaking butter on him. No,
Bro, I'm telling you, as soon as he gets in, if he gets a seam of open field, good luck. Have fun. You're gonna have to get on your high horse and chase him down for sure. He ain't easy to get.
He's definitely got the ability that Hunt and Pacheco don't have. If you look, even when people are closing in to tackle, he still gets another 6, 7, 8 yards.
Yeah.
By the time somebody closes on him, and he looks to run away from people. Everybody on our team looks to run into somebody. I feel bad for the back ends of our offensive linemen.
Yeah, right.
And he's not a big guy. Like RJ Harvey's not a big running back. He's a lot. That's why his speed is as good as it is. He's not? I mean, there's the receiving ability right there. I mean, he's gone.
Familiar.
He's gone. Like you're not catching that.
That's Travis Hunter chasing after him.
I mean, he definitely has that game breaking ability to go get explosives, which is something that has been severely lacking. I would take him, even if we already chose a running back. He's one of a couple of guys I would say we definitely would take him to draft multiple guys. Like, I mean, that should just be a compliment.
Special teams kick returner, third down McKinnon roll.
Oh yeah, I know. What's funny is UCF never used him as a returner much, if at all, to my knowledge. They didn't even they had somebody else doing that, which I thought was incredibly insane because of his speed.
That could also be scary. Talking about his hands on punch, though.
Yeah.
If you've got that kind of explosive back there, why aren't you using it? To me, maybe he had a couple drops and like, nah, just focus on running back.
UCF has not been good for a couple of years, so that could just be coaching
since the Blake Bortles days.
Yeah, that program has fallen on some hard times since they declared themselves national champions.
Good luck.
Auburn.
So RJ Harvey looking like a great addition if we add him. Now we're going with Rich's running back from the U.
From the U, baby.
We are
Damian Martinez.
Talk about some
now. I already know. I already know what some people are probably thinking. We already have this guy on the roster, and his name is Isaiah Pacheco. And I understand those arguments. I really do. But what if Isaiah Pacheco had vision and the ability to make people miss in space? And this is what you're getting with Damian Martinez. Going back, not just this past year, but back to his days at Oregon State. This guy just understands gap scheme and how to keep moving forward and making the first guy miss in space. That is a 230 plus pound running back, by the way, making people miss in space and honestly making a bunch of people look silly. Like it takes 4 guys just to get him on the ground.
Yeah,
that's the type of strength he has. Now, he doesn't have a ton of experience in pass catching. He isn't used primarily in that regard, mainly because Miami had a bunch of dedicated pass catching backs. But he basically took Mark Fletcher's job like out the gate. He came in and Mark Fletcher was dedicated to third down back and spelling duties almost immediately because this guy just came in and took his job. I love his fit for this team just based on how we handle early downs and more of a gap scheme rather than zone running.
Mm-hmm.
We're moving an extremely athletic guy in the run game in Kingsley Suamatia to guard. And we signed Trey Smith to the franchise tag, a guy who gets more done in the run game and can mix it up in the run game. So I think that if we want to get both younger at the position and dedicate more resources to running the football, Damian Martinez is your guy in the later rounds, round 4, round 5. This is a guy I would take in tandem with another back, and within a year or two, hand early down duties to him, and if he can develop his pass protecting skills, he can be a 3-down back in this league. I truly believe he can be a great back in this league with his vision and his ability to just run through contact.
Yeah, Damian Martinez is a guy that you're not gonna want to tackle him in December or January football, just because of how violent of a runner he is, especially when he comes to contact like you see here. Good luck tackling him as well too, because it's not going to be very fun for you. Very physical runner, definitely not afraid of contact. I do agree with Rich's opinion about him having a little bit better vision than Isaiah Pacheco. Would like to see a little bit more from him in this aspect of the game, is in his receiving game. I think that's something that could probably be developed out of him or whatever. Just wasn't, in my opinion, in Miami asked to do it as much just because of who they had at receiver. I think they had 3 or 4 guys. And
they had enough receiving options.
Yeah.
They just asked him. They asked him to be the hammer of the run game, and that was what he did to the tune of about 1,000 yards plus and about 10 touchdowns. So I can't fault them for deciding to use him in that manner.
Yep.
Yeah, he reminds me of the college tape version of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. The college tape that you saw. He's just short, stocky, and he's a damn bowling ball.
Yeah, look, that's incredible. Have fun tackling him, man.
Yeah, I think if this were another, again, kind of like with the D tackle conversation, if this were another draft class, he would probably be a day 2 guy.
Mm-hmm.
But considering the depth of the class, he does have developing pass catching skills, but they aren't heavily utilized. And the fact that his pass pro is still a work in progress, which he has self-admitted is still a work in progress, that kind of lands you in day 3 territory, especially in a deep class. But I think I personally believe he would be a perfect guy for the future to take over for either Isaiah Pacheco or Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
If after this season, with plenty of room to develop,
I think they're both
into a very solid back in this league.
Go ahead, Corey.
I honestly think both of them are probably gone after this season. Hunt's getting older. He's starting to slow down. Pops, we're not going to give him probably, I think the last report was that we're not going to give him any type of big free agency offer. So
but
this would be a solid replacement for either of those guys moving forward.
That's why I think it's beneficial this year for the Chiefs to go get a guy that they can add to that room, just because of who you have this year, to kind of bring that a rookie in and allow him to kind of not have to be so involved early on. Can kind of sit back and learn from those guys, and then utilize him, in certain packages and things of that nature, to give him some time to develop, and then be full go, going into his second year.
Hell yeah. And then, Corey's gotten picked one that I think a majority of Chiefs Kingdom would want. a pretty easy pick, if we're being honest. Travion Henderson from the Ohio State. Talk to us about this guy, man.
Okay, so who's
You
been the
Look
would
away,
show his
DG.
play.
Look
Oh my
away,
God.
So who's been the hype of this draft? We were talking about running backs. Ashton Genty. Averaged 7 yards a carry. You want to know what Henderson averaged per carry? 7.1 yards a carry. He outproduced him in yards per carry. The only reason he is not a first-round pick is because he split duties with Judkins. If he had been the solo three-down back, he'd have put up 1,800, 1,900 yards this season, top 20 pick. He's got everything you want in a three-down running back.
Yeah, extremely versatile.
Enough to say.
He's got the patience, the speed.
Yeah, if you didn't watch him last year, I don't know what rock.
Where have you been? What were you doing?
You were living under. But Travion Henderson he's. I like RJ Harvey. I like Damian Martinez. Travion Henderson is a dude, a straight dog. Brings elite speed. I mean, you seen from the highlights and videos that one play against Texas should tell you everything you need to know. Once he gets in open field, you're not catching him at all. Good luck.
Yeah, DG got a great from last season.
Yeah. Yeah, don't let him take a screen 70 yards to the house. Yeah.
That whole Texas roster had a great view of his backside 70 yards downfield.
Very much so. And I don't think there was a Texas player within 20 yards of him.
He reminds me of Jonathan Taylor.
Mhm.
If you look at all the attributes, what's the one thing you don't think about with Jonathan Taylor? His speed. You think about his tackle breaking ability, his vision, his cuts. The same with Henderson, but both of them have 4.4 speed.
Yeah. Him and Junkins were the main reasons that Ohio State offense was electric this year. They made a great 1-2 punch. And Travion Henderson just brings so much explosion. There's something that the Chiefs could really, really use. And I think this is an underrated part of his game as well, too, is his pass pro. That's something he can do. He's just a 3-down back. He's not afraid to stick his head in there and get dirty at points and times. But then he can, take it 60 yards to the house if you want him to.
I mean, I hate to say it, we get him in red and gold. I don't think we see Pops on the field again.
Yeah. Well,
Hunt on short yardage.
Yeah.
He's a 3-down back. Passing game, pass protection. I mean, he does it all. And like I said, if it hadn't been for Judkins splitting duties with them, I mean, he had what? Like a 1,000.
They both had 100+ carries. Yeah. They were splitting pass catching. They were splitting
something
carries.
yards and receptions a game.
Uh-huh.
7.1 yards a carry.
Yeah. If we get him on day 2, I don't need to see much of the draft after that, especially if you get the guy that you like a defensive tackle.
I'll take either of them, honestly.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like you can take your pick. I like how he moves for his size. He definitely is the shiftier back of the two, and that lends him very well to being a 3-down back. And he has a little bit better, adds a little bit more in the pass catching department than Judkins does. There are times I worry about his vision between the tackles, but he makes up for it in the fact that he doesn't go down usually by the first guy, so that helps. But honestly, I don't think you could go wrong with either of these guys. I mean, just how they run through tackles is they don't stop their feet. The first guy almost never gets them down, and if he does, it's because probably somebody else messed up, honestly, more than anything.
No, I'll say that we spent years and haven't lived down drafting Clyde over Jonathan Taylor. Don't do it again, Beach. Go get him.
Yeah. I can't lie to you. Outside of probably Genty and maybe Hampton, which I'm not that big of a fan of Hampton.
I like Travion.
I understand the Hampton hype, but I don't think he'd be there where it would make sense to take him, and B, I just don't how do I want to say this? I don't know if he would hold up with all the tread that's already on his tires from being the guy around the offense for at least 2 years now. He has a lot of wear and tear on his body, kind of like Jesse does.
Circumstances has made him fall. If it hadn't been for Judkins there, he's an 1,800 yard running back, and I mean he's a top 20 pick. Any other draft, he's a top 20 pick.
Yeah, it just goes to show you how deep the running back class is, and this year Genty probably be the first guy taken with the Hampton right behind him. But if those guys weren't there, Travion Henderson and Judkins would probably be first round picks.
If Judkins wasn't there, you would have seen Travion up there with Ashton in the Heisman consideration.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, 7.1 yards a carry. You double his snaps, you double his yardage. He's over 2,000
and
yards.
in the tougher conference.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of tougher competition.
Splitting carries.
Split carries almost evenly, by the way. They did a really great job with their running backs. You look at the stats, they're practically clones of each other.
All right. And for me, I went with DJ Giddens from Kansas State. I really like his tape. He's just really shifty. And he is also a 200-pound running back, 6 foot, decent speed. I think he ran a 4.4. I think what I like about him is that it's hard to tackle the guy, even with being in the Big 12 where the defense isn't as good conference-wise as maybe the Big 10 or even the SEC, but just a guy that just doesn't quit, has great production. Maurice Jones-Drew, who is part of the NFL Network, said he's one of the shiftiest backs in the draft, and that's what I like about him. I think he's got some untapped potential, and as someone who just kind of roots for kind of the 3 college teams, if you lived in KC, like these are the 3 ones. I kind of root for all of them. I always root for the K-State guys because no one really talks about them, but I like what I see from DJ Giddens, and I think he would be an excellent addition if we decided to go with him.
Yeah, I haven't seen too much of Giddens this year, but from what I see, man, got great explosion in the open field. Obviously, very hard to bring down as well too. Seems like he works really well around the goal line as well too. So that's something that Chiefs could really use this year too, and moving forward.
I like his shiftiness. I like his vision. And I'm going to come right out and say it. The one thing that concerns me is a lack of defense in that division. I mean, was it just last year or 2 years ago, there was a dude with midget legs that looked like an all-pro running for Kansas State.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Oh, Deuce Vaughn. Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah, Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah.
He's a cowboy.
Yeah. I get that. I definitely do. I agree. I love his vision. I love how he attacks, how he hits the point of attack, and he does not wait. As soon as he sees it, he is full speed, and the first guy is almost never taking him down.
Like I said,
the biggest thing with me is they didn't really utilize him very much in the pass game. So I would like to have seen more in that regard, but I do, and his scheme fit's not perfect, but I think he's overall still one of those more scheme agnostic backs. You can kind of put him where you want him and he'll make it work because his vision is that good. So I don't think that would be too detrimental to him in terms of the Chiefs.
Yeah. I think he would be good, especially based off of what we kind of need. Like he's not the most explosive guy, but I think a guy that's really hard to tackle, and then when it comes to open space, just knows where to find the right spot to really.
I mean,
attack.
that clip speaks for itself right there. I mean, I wish they did more of that with him, but they really just didn't, because which was kind of shocking to me, considering they didn't really have a whole lot behind him.
Yeah.
I can't remember who said it, but I heard it last year when he was about to get drafted. I don't trust any defense that allows a lawn gnome to rush for over 4,000 yards in 3 seasons.
Yeah.
The Deuce Vaughn disrespect will not be tolerated in this.
Hey, that dude.
I
He's
didn't realize
little.
how bad it was until I saw him at Dallas. When I saw him at Dallas training camp standing next to the other guys, he looked like a toddler.
But boy, was he making people look silly anyway. So you know what? I can't take that away from him.
100%. Now, I asked you guys to come up with 3 or like some extra guys. It doesn't matter what position they play, that you kind of like, sneaky players that you like coming out. We're going to go with Corey's pick. Also from the U, Elijah Arroyo, the tight end.
This is kind of my suck it pick to all the hypocrites out there that keep saying Justin Simmons this and that. Oh, I'm not worried about his injury. But in the same aspect, they keep saying we've got injury concerns with him. Much smaller with a leg injury. He's already had a year back and produced. If you're looking for an electric tight end that can kind of fill that role after Kelsey, that's the receiving tight end, this is probably your guy in this draft. He's fallen because of the ACL injury. But if you're comfortable with getting a guy like Simmons in the first round and you're not comfortable with getting somebody like Arroyo, who could be an 800-900-yard tight end in the 3rd or 4th round, then you're crazy. I mean, he's got he fits the Chiefs scheme perfectly, winning one-on-one routes across linebackers' faces and finding soft spots in zones.
Yeah, he's definitely the prototypical tight end of what tight ends are kind of moving towards in this game now, where they have to be more receiving guys, becoming that extra bigger weapon. I really think he's just a bigger receiver, if you ask me. Yeah, but yeah, I love the Royals game. Him and Cam Ward definitely had a great chemistry last year. Definitely put up some great numbers with both of those guys. So has a natural knack for the end zone as well too. I love the way he sits in zones and understands zone concepts at points and times too. But once he gets in an open field, he's got that explosiveness that you would want from a tight end to get upfield and get extra yards after the catch. So
I mean, how many times have we seen that little dump off?
Take it up the seam.
You just throw it to Kelsey 3 yards past the line of scrimmage and be like, "Hey, get a few extra yards."
He doesn't have the blocking, and that's mainly due to his size and how he was utilized at Miami. But he really kind of reminds me of that George Kittle type, just without the blocking. Like he has the hands, he has the breakaway speed, he has the ability to make the first guy miss just because he's gonna plant you in the ground on the way by. Like I like what I see. I just don't know if tight end is where they would go, unless everything just kind of fell into place earlier in the draft. Plus, I think he may just be gone by the time we pick in the relevant range. If I'm being honest, because he is that good.
We're looking at receiver, and we've got Worthy for another 3 years. We've got Rice for another 2 years. We've only got Kelsey for this year. Kelsey's pretty much said this is his last year. Yep. So if there's a guy that can sit 1 year behind him and grow and then develop in year 2, to me, that may be just as impactful as it would be going and getting another receiver in the 2nd or 3rd round. Just because we've already got 2 solid receivers in Rice and Worthy. Yep. So we could go a little bit against the grain, go get that Kelsey replacement, and then we've still got another year of Kelsey, Worthy, and Rice, where we don't we got Juju back. I mean, we're not that desperate for a receiver, but I keep seeing like Burden in the 1st round to us, that Ole Miss receiver in the 2nd round. To me, getting somebody that can replace Kelsey and put up 700, 800, 900 yards at that tight end position is something we don't have on the roster right now. I mean, I really don't think there's any other tight end on the roster I trust to get over 500, 600 yards.
So you don't think Wiley could develop to be that replacement like people have been thinking?
Not after
Nice.
that. He already had an uphill battle as it was. And after that, I mean, he was like, what, a 4th, 5th round pick?
Yeah.
And I mean, coming off of a major knee injury like that, he was already a lot slower than Kelsey. He didn't have that speed or that great burst. Somebody like that, expecting him to come in and take over, I would say there's a better chance of Noah Gray having a 600-700 yard season for the next couple of years than Wiley at this point.
Yeah. I
The
think
ACL didn't help, that's for sure. Yeah, it just is what it is.
Yeah, if you're a team, you're getting the Royal, you're asking him to come in and be a
Be the day one starter.
700, 800 type, tight end receiving option for you. Because he's not going to provide a lot for you in a blocking game. And I wouldn't ask him to provide a lot for you in the blocking game because it's not needed. That's not his game. He's definitely a mismatch for a lot of guys that would be linebackers and safeties in this league, and I think that's the best place to put him. So I do agree with Corey. I think that he would be easily able to step in and kind of take over that role that you've seen Travis Kelce play for many years for the Chiefs, and he'd be a great pick.
I'll say this. We've seen Mahomes produce without top-level receivers. We've yet to see Mahomes produce without a top-level tight end. I don't want to chance it. If there's that guy there, go get him.
And you never stop surrounding 15 with great weapons.
Hell yeah. And now this was Richard's pick, Jalen Noel.
That's a great segue into never stopping Patrick Mahomes, giving him good weapons. Because if you want a route runner, this is one of my guys in this draft. If there is any one player I would love for the Chiefs to draft, it is Jalen Noel from Iowa State. The first thing that pops out on tape is he doesn't drop the ball. Like he understands how to high point the football. He understands route running. He understands spacing, especially in zones. And he'll get you a catch if you need a catch. And he'll give you an explosive if you need an explosive. I just love the way he runs his routes. He's not the tallest guy, but he'll still go fight for a football. He's not the fastest guy on the field, but his understanding of routes and leverage will get him open. He does, in some aspects, conflict a little bit in the slot, but I think with how Rashee Rice has developed, with how Worthy had took on an expanded role early, you can put all three of those guys onto the field and they will go and make a play for you, and they will eat up zone coverage. If you don't have a guy on him off the rip, he is going to exploit you in zone coverage, and he's going to get yards after the catch. He just has that understanding of leverage and timing with routes, and he just looks so smooth. It looks effortless. He doesn't look like he's having to exert energy at all to get open and run his routes, and he just seems like a very smart guy to have on the field and have in your receiver room, especially for his size, not being a prototypical wide receiver for the NFL for his size.
I mean, looking at this tape right now, like some of the balls that are thrown up and he's just double covered and he just snatches the ball away. That's something that, like, I think I've only seen that really from D-Hop, that one play against the Bucks, but we haven't had like a receiver like that probably since maybe even Tyreek, because I know there was some times where Tyreek kind of did plays like that, but being able to be like swarmed with coverage and still get the ball is pretty impressive. And
this is the guy that we wish. I'm gonna say this. This is the guy that a lot of people thought Sky Moore was going to be coming out of college. This is the type of slot receiver that the Chiefs were looking for when they drafted Sky Moore. But he can also play outside because he has that ability to be able to set up DBs and exploit leverage and just be able to get open. And I think he's probably one of the most quarterback-friendly receivers that is coming out of this draft.
He's very fluid. He doesn't have all the wasted footwork that Sky has.
R.I.P. Sky.
Hometown kid too.
Yeah.
Be a dream come true for him. He's already kind of talked about it at the combine. Patrick Mahomes is obviously his favorite quarterback. So yeah, I think for him it'd be a great fit. Be a dream come true for a guy like him to come home and play for the Chiefs. But yeah, great route runner, electric speed. I think he's a 4.3 guy. So I would love to have in our offense if that's the case. I think the only thing that people will probably have against him is he is on the shorter side.
Yeah, he's not like, and that's a good shout. I saw it from Tree. That's a good shout. He reminds you of JSN. He's just not as tall as JSN.
The thing where his size doesn't bother me is we've already got Rashee Rice as kind of that over the middle guy. He's going to be kind of more of that quick separation guy, which you can be smaller. You can be like Sky Moore. You can be like Welker or Edelman. If you can get that quick separation like he does, he's very fluid on his in and outs and allows him to get that initial step on defenders, then size doesn't really matter.
100%. Jalen Noel looks like he'd be a fantastic addition to our team. And then DG's last pick, we went on the defensive side from Alabama, Malachi Moore, the D. What are we thinking about Malachi Moore, DG?
Yeah. You can tell Brian Cook if you get Malachi Moore to kiss his job goodbye, because that's whose job he'd possibly be taking. He's a true, legit center field safety. He's got great range, great pursuit to the football. I would say the only thing about his game is he's a little bit of an inconsistent tackler at points and times, but you can trust him in single high. I have no issues from his first year putting him in single high situations and allowing him just to roam and play center field. He's got those type of ball skills to where he can get to sideline and make a play. And obviously did it, the highest level in playing in the SEC and playing for Alabama. But to me, he's a turnover machine. Something that I think that the Chiefs would need. I think he can be a guy that could, obviously come into the league and lead the league in interceptions in a year or so. So Malachi Moore has been one of my gyms, my day, kind of day 2-ish, day 3-ish gym. If you're going to get him, the safety class is obviously very good as well this year too. But yeah, love his competitiveness. If you want a little bit of a crash out, he's your guy for sure. But he's very competitive. It keeps it on the field as far as crashing out and stuff like that. But he's just very competitive and wants to win. And just got elite skills at, getting, like I said, using his range and using his speed and playing that center field part of the field. The Chiefs, I think at this point, for Spags, they kind of lack. I love Brian Cook, and I think he's a great guy, but I just think that Malachi Moore could probably do it for them at a higher level.
Yeah, he's one of my top 2 coverage safeties on the board. If we have a chance to get him, or I think his name is Xavier Watts, one of those 2 coverage safeties will completely round out our secondary group with having McDuffie and Fulton now, and then having Watson as our cornerback 3, and then adding a true free safety to go with what we have. Cook could be a great down safety. And along with the rookie that we just got last year, you pair those 2 up in coverage, it's going to be a nightmare for teams throwing the ball. Nothing in the middle is going to be open, especially if McDuffie goes back to the slot.
Yeah. Playing too high with him is going to be a freaking cheat code, just with the limited amount of range. I mean, with the amount of range that he actually has, man. He, like I said, man, he can legit play center field. Kind of reminds me of when we drafted Juan Thornhill at one point to be that center field rangy type safety. I think that he could come in and do some of those things for him. Biggest downfall, I think, for him, obviously dealt with some injuries while he was at Bama. So that's one thing that I think a lot of teams are kind of keeping their eye out for. So I think that's one thing that's probably going to have him be a day 2 guy or day 3 guy.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing when I started looking at the safeties was part of the reason he didn't get on the field as much was the fact that there were injuries that popped up. He got a concussion in 2024.
Uh-huh.
He dealt with, I believe it was a hamstring in 2023. And while I love the fact he is willing to mix it up in the run game, there are some big dudes he's going to have to be contending with to get in there and go make some of the plays like this that he's making. So I worry about his durability, which is probably, like DG said, why he's going to be probably a later day 2, possibly even day 3 guy. But I think if you can keep him on the field, he definitely can do some good things for you.
Heck yeah. Malachi Moore would be a great addition to the team. Guys, excellent picks. I didn't pick a third one because I was going to jokingly do that Dominic guy from Colorado State that had a 0 score.
0 RAS.
There is a story behind that, by the way.
Did he do that on purpose?
No, he got hurt. He got hurt training, getting ready for the pro days, and that's why. But he wanted to toughen out. But he wanted to see it through.
Is it like the ACT?
Whether that was a good idea? Probably not.
Bruh. So I didn't want to do a fellow Dominic dirty like that, but now since we only got a little bit of time left, I wanted to get the mock drafts out. So I thought we could debut Rich's mock draft for us. So as I pull this up, we're just go over why you picked these picks, why you think they're going to be good fits, and go from there. So if I could just pull it up in a quick second. Right here. Boom.
So we've already talked about a couple of these guys already, and Darius Alexander, Judkins, a little bit more Martinez. But the biggest thing, I am a firm believer that this is the draft where you go get younger, moldable guys on the defense, especially in the later rounds, where Spags and Joe Cullen can get their hands on these guys and mold them into the players that they want them to be. Specifically, Savion Jones and Tyron Ingram. These are guys that fit the prototypical Spags defensive tackle, defensive end. They're on the bigger side. They were more late bloomers, or in Tyron's case, he wasn't able to get on the field as much because there were so many great players in front of him. But when he did get on the field, he flashed a lot of upside, a lot of ability to make plays, especially in the run game for his size. So I like these more moldable prospects in the later rounds. I think Judkins is pretty self-explanatory. He was the one. He's the 1B to Travion's 1A. Jalen Royals is another sleeper pick at wide receiver. Smaller school mileage may vary, and he did have his injury last year. But kind of like with Jalen Noel, just his ability to get open and create space by exploiting leverage stood out to me on film. And Cody Simon's just a great player, man. He's just been a consistent player throughout his career at Ohio State, team captain, 40-plus starts under his belt, and just always may not be the best athlete or the fastest guy on the field, but he always seemed to be in the right place at the right time. And on a defense that probably is going to have 2 early picks on the defensive line, he still stood out in run support and has pass rush upside for a linebacker. So the big thing for my draft was, especially in the later rounds, is just taking moldable guys that can fit into roles that we need on this defense while getting overall younger for the future.
Well, it looks like you and Corey were thinking the same with Walter Nolan, because last week
He's
had
just a
Walter
baller,
Nolan as
man.
his third
Like
pick.
his tape just wins, and he does it consistently with pad level, leverage, hands. Like he's got it all.
I think somebody's going to snag him top 25. Somebody's going to see that tape and be like, "No, we can't pass on."
It's gonna break my heart too because he's that good to me.
For sure. Thanks for presenting that. I like the Darius Alexander pick because that was my player, thank God. And then being able to see the tape on Damian Martinez, and I watched Judkins play, and yes, Travion was probably the main star of that running back room, but you cannot go wrong with a guy like him, especially the way that they played last year at Ohio State. So
Ricky Wright from Vanderbilt too, I think could be a sneaky pick at safety. He's not a flashy guy. He's not a flashy name, but I think he has a lot of upside at safety. He could be a sneaky pick to stash away for the future.
sweet. All right. So there you go for that mock draft by Rich. Thanks for presenting that. And then this is our mock draft 2.0 for our guy, Corey. And I think there's going to be a lot of fan favorites in this one. But, Corey, we got Luther Burden, obviously, and some of the players that you talked about in this draft.
I mean,
what are you thinking?
If Luther is there at 31, you have to be stupid not to take him. Like most other drafts, he's a top 15 wide receiver. I mean, he's got every skill you want in a wide receiver. He's got good hands. He can win one-on-one matchups. He finds soft spots in zones. He can high point the ball and win in jump balls. He can take end arounds. He break tackles. He runs people over. Like, what more do you want? I think part of the reason that it's failed that he's dropped is because the Mizzou offense failed him. Brady Cook was a one-read quarterback. So if the ball wasn't going to the first read, Brady Cook was pulling it and running it. And if Luther Burden won the first read, he knows it's not going to him, so he's going to stand around, which looks bad for scouts. Playing with Mahomes, he would have to learn that there is no first read. Mahomes could go through 4 reads, scramble around, and still be looking downfield. He's got to keep moving his feet. He develops that. He's a top 6-7 wide receiver in the NFL in this offense. So if he's there at 31, you can't pass up on him.
Oh, yeah. And then you got Walker, who we talked about, Travion Henderson that we went over. We basically all 3 guys that we just talked about.
I've got one question for that. DG, if we draft him, how are you going to feel seeing that Texas slant 3 times a day?
Listen, if he becomes a Chief, I'm okay with it. I'll watch it as many times as y'all want me to, but please make him a Chief.
He will forever hold his peace.
Yeah. Facts. But nah, I love Travion Henderson, especially if you can get him in at this point in the draft too, at the second round. 66 pick would be great value for him.
Talk to us about Billy Bowman and Ty Hamilton and Corey Thornton.
Is it here? I can't even see it on the screen. Is it showing up for y'all?
Yeah, it's showing up for me. There. But it's after Arroyo, it's Billy Bowman from Oklahoma at 133.
Like Billy Bowman pick.
Yeah, I mean that's solid mid-round safety. I mean, you're not going to get the first, second round coverage ability, but I mean, he's a lot more like Brian Cook, even though DG doesn't want to hear it. But get somebody like but getting somebody that can play and help in the run game and in the passing game with tight ends and bigger wide receivers, getting them in the mid rounds is a no-brainer for me. Now, the other ones past that, Sweet. I don't even remember. That mock draft was from a week ago.
Ty Hamilton from Ohio State.
Let's see.
The defensive tackle.
Yeah, I don't have anything pulled up on him right now. It's kind of just plug and play. We need some help on the defensive line. Ohio State's D-line was all around a pretty solid D-line from left to right. So you pick up any one of them and plug them into the D-line and the mid to late. you've got somebody that's at least a solid rotational piece.
Don't worry, guys. Richard is still alive.
Sorry about that.
But no, you good, dog. And then you had from Louisville, Corey Thornton, and then the last pick, you and Richard both had Cody Simon.
Yeah, both of those, I just went best available, whoever was top on the draft at that point. When you get into the 7th round, it's kind of just flyers. A lot of those special team players. You look at linebackers and safeties and cornerbacks, a lot of those are special teams players, or you get players like Joshua Williams, back end rotation, cornerback, linebackers. To me, I'm just looking at special teams at that point.
100%. I'm liking this draft. Obviously, it was all the guys that you talked about today, but being able to see the tape and seeing how much of an impact they would make for as a Kansas City Chief would be awesome. And I know that if you talk to Chiefs fans, their heads would say, get a D tackle like Walter Nolan, or just address the D tackle. But if Luther Burton's right there, I know every Chiefs fan would say, freaking choose him. So I don't think you're wrong there.
Here's what I'm looking at. If I'm looking at Burton or Nolan at this point, for the last 2 years, we've had a top 5 defense. For the last 2 years, our offense has struggled. Why not fix what's struggling to begin with? I mean, we've had a top 5 defense the last 2 years and brought most of the D-line back. So the whole isn't that great. What we've had problems with is separation of receivers, giving somebody that Mahomes can build that comfortability with to hit those quick passes. To me, Burton would have more of an impact immediately than another D tackle would, pairing him next to CJ and Omenihu.
Yeah, I agree.
Make some great points, man.
Mr. Burton is there at 31.
I don't hate it. I understand the logic behind it. I don't hate it. I get where you're coming from that perspective. I think it's probably a little bit more nuanced in that regard, considering all the injuries that we've had at wide receiver for the past 2 years. Probably didn't help, but I think if you had to choose, if Luther Burden is the guy that's right there, and you don't feel comfortable choosing anyone else in that area, then I have no problem with it from that perspective. I will never be unhappy with putting more weapons with Patrick Mahomes.
Now here's a quick question. Here's a quick question, guys, and a hypothetical. Do you think if the Chiefs actually did decide, hey, we're actually going to move up in the draft, what position do you think they would go for? If they did, would it just be D tackle, or would it be just
I really
whoever they love?
Don't trade up for an O tackle. I don't think any of them that are sitting there besides Simmons with his injury history, which already concerns me, is worthy of the 31 pick. So if we're moving up to get one, we're not moving up high enough to get one of those top 2. So to me, I don't think there's any value trading up for an O tackle. Now, one of the top D tackles are there, I'd be fine with it. Even maybe somebody like Jahdae Barron.
Yeah. I think if you're moving up, it's obviously for a guy that you really like. I think on the defensive side of the ball, maybe at a defensive tackle position, a defensive tackle you really like. I don't really see them moving up for an offensive tackle, especially with the signing of Jalen Moore. I think they feel pretty comfortable allowing him to try to be the starter next year. So I don't see the need for it to try to give up capital for that. If a Jahdae Barron is sitting there and hovering around at the 20s range, and you feel like you can add him to this defense, and with the versatility that he brings, then yeah, I can see them going up and doing that too. Another guy I could see them going up and maybe getting is a guy like Malachi Starks, safety, who I think would fit very well with them and would give them a hell of a safety room for the future in Jaden Hicks and Malachi Starks back there. So I really don't see it for a guy that, that's going to potentially be a backup for you this year at the tackle position.
If we traded more picks to move up and get a tackle, we are opening up into a territory of a very nasty conversation of how much we have given up over the last 4 years to try to rectify the left tackle position. If you look at what we gave up for Orlando Brown Jr., then a second-round pick in Kingsley, a third-round pick in Wanye, and then we're looking at another first-round pick plus some to move up and get another tackle. That's a lot of draft capital we have spent on the left tackle position in the last 4 years. That'd be the equivalent of you give up what we had in Orlando and then this. It'd be equivalent like what, 3 first-round picks?
Yeah.
I think it also says
And the worst part
you
is
don't believe in
probably
Jalen Moore.
won't play.
We still wouldn't even know if he's going to work out or not.
Yeah, I mean, you paid Jalen Moore $15 million a year to play him, not to have him sit on the sidelines making $15 million a year just twiddling his thumbs.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no guarantee the guy would play, even if we did draft him.
It would clearly say that you don't believe in Jalen Moore.
We would be
and I
That's
just
not a good thing.
everything that's come out of the mouths of anybody who has any sort of clout with the Chiefs says they're going to play Jalen Moore until they physically can't anymore. So I just, man, the 26 draft class is so much deeper at tackle that even if you don't win the Super Bowl again this year, like you will have prospects at both tackle positions, because there's also a very good chance that you let Jawan Taylor walk out the door after next year.
I read that contract
because he has his out, and you save a lot of money that way. So you could do either. You could either draft a tackle prospect, or you could go out and try to pry a bona fide tackle prospect away from somebody else with draft capital. With legitimate draft capital, and just go get you a already established left tackle. I just don't see the need. If you're gonna trade up, it's either good. There's either a prospect who you did not expect to get past like 20 or so, that's there at like the 23 to 25 range. In my opinion, it'd be like a Jade Barrett. It'd be a Nick Emanwari out of South Carolina, who is probably the most versatile defensive back in this draft, who could play corner or safety. Either safety spot. Could go play corner if you need him to play corner. And we know how Spags loves his chess pieces on defense.
Yeah, and
so or it's a wide receiver. Maybe they don't think Luther Burden drops to 31, and they want to do a small trade up because he fell farther than they expected. But I just don't think it would be the best use of resources based on how they have approached this offseason to say we're going to give up draft capital to go get a left tackle that isn't guaranteed to even play, much less start.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And plus, I think if I read Moore's contract right, it's pretty easy to walk away from him after one season.
Yep.
So we can
I think all of his guaranteed money is this year.
We can do one of two things. We can draft one next year, and if we think he's an impact starter, we can cut him and save the money. If not, then hey, play a year behind him. He played solid last year. Learn from him. You're our guy next year too. Next year is the year to get a tackle. We've already thrown too much money, too many picks at the left tackle position to give up a bunch more equity to go try to fix the left tackle position.
Right. Well, guys, thank you guys for showing us the players that you guys think would make a huge impact for our Kansas City Chiefs. There's still a lot to go. I think there's 3 weeks till the draft in Green Bay. So there's going to be a lot more mock drafts. What?
1 month from tomorrow.
Oh my goodness.
We're getting down to it.
And it's going to be in Green Bay, Wisconsin, so that'll be exciting for those fans to be there. But a lot more mock drafts in the future and a lot more speculation as the days go by. And it's going to be very exciting. So next week, guys, I know I don't like to be the guy to give homework here, but we're going to go over wide receivers. And I already know Corey's going to pick Luther Burton III, so you can't pick Luther Burton. the third. But we're going to do wide receivers. We are going to do DBs. And then, like we did today, if there's just a random player that no one's talking about or a random position anywhere, bring that to the table. That's what we're going to talk about next week. And we thank everybody who is watching via X or YouTube or listening the next day on Spotify or Apple Podcasts for listening to this. We do this every Wednesday. It'll come out Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. and then next day on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Trizzy usually says something inspirational at the end of these things, but Trizzy's not here, so I guess I'll do it. It's one step at a time. I've been seeing a little bit of talk. You see the usual stuff that happens in the offseason. A certain Bolt themed team is set to win the division. Everybody looks like they're getting way better. It looks like the Chiefs are finally gonna hit that snag. But the thing about the reality is of the Kansas City Chiefs is even when you think that they've hit their ceiling, there's another way that Veach and Andy Reid and Mahomes finds a way to improve. And I think that what they're doing right now and how they've addressed free agency has really set them up to just have a stress-free kind of draft where they see the players that they like and maybe untapped potential, and they just be able to pick. That's what I'm getting the vibe of after this offseason. Obviously, we lost some good talent. We wish we could have signed some other talent like Willie Gay. I know there was a big, let's get Willie Gay back. Didn't happen. That's okay. In Veach, we trust. If there's a Veach hater, I don't know what else to talk to you about. I'm tired of the John Dorsey talk. It's been fun. That was a great year, but that's over. It's Veach, it's Andy, it's Mahomes. They get it done. They know how to tackle draft. I think this might be the draft where it seems like based off the loss of that Super Bowl and how we lost, it's like we gotta hit. We have to make it work to get back to where we are. Based off free agency, I feel like it's a stress-free draft. I think you'll be able to find the players you need that can fill the gaps that we need to address, and it'll be chill. So, Chiefs Kingdom, don't stress too much about the draft. I think we're pretty much set wherever we pick.
Yeah. A wise man once said, "You can't climb the mountain without equipment."
No true words have ever been spoken. That's
they don't They don't have to overthink this one. Just let they could sit on their hands and just let the draft come to them.
Literally, they could do.
They can do pretty much what they want with.
They could do like what I did with the fantasy
draft,
draft,
no tackle.
auto draft.
No tackle.
Now the real question is going to be, DG, are y'all in Kingdom Cast going to come get my crown this year on that draft game?
We'll see. We'll be around for it for sure.
That's in the works, Corey. But I'm not going to announce it just yet. But there could be some exciting stuff to happen with Kingdom Cast in the future. But guys, thank you so much for listening. And yeah, how about those Chiefs? Take it easy, guys.
Peace.
I put it all on my shoulders. Give 100 till it's over. I told you.